Yeah, now it is live streamed.
Mm.
So we fixed program till Jan 1st.
Yes.
Please go to the next slide. So Vande Guru, we will start officially with a small prayer. Welcome back. Just a 1 minute video about CEIR.
Initiatives and research, CEIR Global Trust has established a common platform for educators, students, principals, parents, and management so as to improve the overall school culture in India and abroad. Since its inception from 2009, CEIR has conducted many and extraordinary programs for the target groups right from K1 to K12. All CEIR programs are powered by Veda Handwriting Lab. Veda offers multiple programs for students and teachers. These programs are backed by scientific research. At Veda Handwriting Lab, we say good or bad handwriting is an existing myth. There is only trained or untrained handwriting. To make it possible, Veda Handwriting Lab has developed a training device called Manicule Memory Board for faster and long-lasting results among students and teachers. Handwriting Elite Kit and Life Kit are the flagship programs for Veda Handwriting Lab, accessible through our website www.vedahandwritingkit.com. Now also available on Amazon. We believe that we will be a force to reckon with the near future. We believe that the best is yet to be. The ultimate aim of the CEIR is to create a CEIR Center of Excellence by 2030, a perfect away from home to hone its members. Vande Gurum.
Welcome back. Now I invite our dearest Diwali ma'am. She is a moderator and mentor of CEIR to welcome the guest. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Vande Gurum to everyone. I would like to begin with thanking the CEIR for the opportunity to moderate this afternoon's session. This is the third in the Nipun Bharat series, and it has been carefully crafted, keeping the interests of the primary school teachers in mind. Dr. Srishan has been very instrumental in finding this gem we have today. Dr. Savita, she will be taking this session this afternoon. Behind the scenes, we also have Vijaya ma'am, who has a keen interest in foundational learning and has been the guiding and inspiring force. Let me introduce Dr. Savita. She is the founder, CEO of Ink Tank Edu Services LLP. This organization provides management consultation to educational institutions. As former principal of Kautilya Vidyalaya, Mysuru, she served the institution for 15 years. She was instrumental in bringing much laurels to the school by way of British Council's International School Award. And also during her tenure, the school bagged a national award from Azim Premji Foundation. She was also the first to get the school the Atal Tinkering Lab in Mysuru. She holds an honorary doctorate for her specialization in primary education. Besides her academic qualifications, she has added to her knowledge through acquiring diplomas in school management, in life skills and adolescent education, in guidance and counseling, and in fine arts and handicrafts. A CBSC appointed trainer for classroom management, she is also the founder secretary of the Mysore Sahodaya School Complex of about 55 schools, which facilitates effective collaboration and cooperation among the principals of the CBSE schools. In 2019, she was conferred the prestigious Abdul Kalam Award for her achievement in education by the Avantika Group. Currently, she heads the drafting committee for a working position paper on preschool education and foundational literacy and numeracy. This is for implementing the National Education Policy, DSERT, Government of Karnataka. And therefore, we believe that today, the session, she could be the best resource person to take this session forward. This afternoon, she will be taking us through 4 important points. One is the first being language development and factors influencing language development. Why is it so important? Then she will also be talking about listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills and how to develop the same. Further, she will also tell us about what kind of strategies can be used for developing reading in young learners. And lastly, she would touch upon classroom routines that will help bridge the learning gaps in class 1 and 2. So today I will urge all the participants to take advantage of her presence. And she has also, let me assure you that she has devised a whole lot of interactive activities, especially for you today. May I now invite Dr. Savita to take over from me. Thank you, ma'am.
Namaste, Deepali-ji. Thank you so much for your warm welcome. And I'm extremely happy to be connecting with my fellow mates, my dearest professionals. I always feel proud to say that I'm a teacher. So I feel elated to be in a community of teachers. So today I won't be speaking about anything that you people don't know. We are only going to mull over things and then see how language development happens and just understand. My humble request is that everyone should be participative, and I don't want this to be a monologue. I don't believe that learning can happen if one person is speaking. So I would not like to be the wrong role model for all of you. So namaste once again to everyone here, and let's start discovering how language development happens in children. So are we all ready? Yes? Yes? Okay, fine. So we will quickly start with the student engagement activity. So I would like you to use the chat option and tell me, why do you think language is required? So you can use the chat box and quickly leave your responses there. Why do you think language is required? Whether it's for children or for adults, you can leave your responses there. Okay, wonderful. I see the first one to respond, Shruti. Congratulations, Shruti, for being the first one to foster effective communication. Okay, yeah, then I would like to see more responses. Okay, to share views and expressions. Good. Okay, yeah. Get across ideas, to express our feelings. Yes, good. You people are gearing up. Wonderful. Very nice. To express thoughts. Yes. Okay, to communicate. Yes. Wonderful. To influence others. Yes. I can see now that you are also warming up, and we are going to have activities like this happening. I mean, I would definitely want you people to tell me how you feel. So it's very important for you to connect with me. So thank you so much for the response. I can see so many of you responding. Wonderful. As most of you are saying, it's to express oneself, one's ideas, one's feelings, to share our thoughts. Of course, this is because we are a social animal, right? Human beings cannot survive without communicating with each other. To live with each other, it's very important to get our ideas across to others, to express ourselves, to understand others. Hence, language becomes the most important tool or the instrument for us to exchange our thoughts and ideas. Now, I would be sharing my screen so that I can take you through a small PPT, though I always feel that using a PPT is not advisable, but I thought there will be some visual impact. Is my screen visible? Deepali-ji, just give me a thumbs up. Any one of you? Yeah. I hope it's visible. Yeah. Is my screen visible? Any one of you? Deepali-ji?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible. May I urge participants to remain on mute so that they do not disturb the presentation in between. Thank you.
Dear friends, stay on mute, and only when you are asked to respond on the chat, you can always respond so that it will be easier for us and we won't be wasting any time. And if you would like, you can take screenshots, or I have shared the PPT with Deepali-ji. You can even share it with them. So I would request all of you to listen rather than write down or capture the whole thing. Being mindful and being present is more important than documenting things. Okay? I would like you to experience it. So today we are going to talk about language development in children. I think there is some background noise. There is some conversation.
Afroz, Anuradha,
Group admin.
Bhavika, Anuja.
Admin, can you please unmute? Yes, I think that's better. Yeah. So today I'm addressing teachers of pre-KG to grade 2. That is the teachers who are going to be teaching the first 5 years, the foundation years, if I have to put it in the NEP language. Okay, so, and let's see what we are going to learn today. Okay, Deepaliji has already told you, but still I thought it's important for you to know where you're heading. So we're going to identify the communication skills that help us to develop language, and then the stages of development of language. And I'm stressing more on reading today, because 1 hour is not possible, it's not enough for us to talk about all the skills. So I thought reading might be really very important, because I see teachers struggling to develop reading. So I'm stressing more on this. And then let's look at the importance of various stages of developing reading. And then we'll also plan activities and how to plug the gaps in learning, or the remediation as you call it. Okay, I guess all of you are ready to go. So let's go. Now, we all know that all of us have been wired to speak. So, we come with the innate ability to speak, but then not all of us have the, wiring to read. Reading becomes a very, very important, it's a challenge to teach. So today, that's why I chose to take up reading than anything else, because without reading, the writing cannot happen. And when you are talking to parents or teachers, I know everybody looks at reading and writing as the most important skill, though we have the other skills also equally important. So now, if we have to teach reading or writing, it's very important that we use practice and repetition. As the Veda Institute was just now saying, if handwriting has to be developed also, these are all skills which have to be picked up through practice. So today, let's see which are the 4 language skills. As teachers, most of us know this, but still let's revise and brush it up. We have the most important skills, the language skills, like L, S, R, W in that order: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening being the first skill. Now, if you can quickly recall, please use the chat option and tell me how many of you remember your mother giving you a slate to teach you language in the first year of your birth. Did you start learning language through a slate? Did you start it with writing or reading? Can you please quickly tell me how did you start your language, that is your mother tongue? Please mention the skill that you started first with. Yes, again, we have Shruti. I think she's a very proactive participant. She has answered, yes, most of you are right. We all started through listening, because we did not go through the script, or there was no practice given with writing or reading, but it happened, through listening. Even all of us have experienced this, and we know that we learn through listening, learn a language through listening. Are we really giving importance to listening in this course? This is a question for reflection. Please create a parking lot in your book, and you will have to start parking these questions for reflection, which you can always go back after this session. It becomes very important for us to look at some of our practices that we are so dearly holding on to. So please park this very important question: is listening given enough importance in the classroom? Now, listening and reading are the receptive skills. It's very easy to find out. Can I find out whether you are listening at this moment or not? It's not possible, until unless we question. So reading and listening are the receptive skills which are not visible immediately until unless we pose questions and have interaction. Whereas speaking and writing are the productive skills where we have to produce. See, I'm speaking now. I don't have to tell you that I'm speaking. It's evident. And Deepaliji is writing something. So it's a productive skill. You can clearly see that she's writing something. So speaking and writing skills are observable. These are the productive skills. And listening and reading are not observable. It has to be through interaction. And these are the receptive skills. Now, without learning a language in the right order, that is, LSRW, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, we will not be able to master the language. Please mark this. There are many of us who are committing this blunder of starting with writing. If you see the first day in school, even parents eagerly look forward to writing in the child's book, and teachers also feel that the first thing that has to be done is writing. So if this is the damage we are doing to children, we know why we are struggling so much in language development, because we are not using the right strategies. Everything has to be methodical. So now today, let's understand how we go about it. Now here I would quickly like to draw your attention to what Nipun Bharat says. Because you've been exposed to Nipun Bharat, I've just pulled out a few things randomly. This is not exactly from what Nipun Bharat has published. But then when we look at what children should have mastered by third grade, by the time children would have finished 5 years of schooling, they should have achieved, these things, proficiency in reading. Now, these competencies of, see now, if you read NEP documents or Nipun Bharat, you find this word competency very frequently. All this while we never use this word competency in a school setting, So it's very important for us to understand what this word competency is. Competency is a combination of three things. See, previously we used to look at the quantum of learning in terms of this knowledge acquired, that is the information passed on, how much writing was given. But now if you have to develop the competency in a child, it is knowledge that the child requires for that particular topic, and then the skills required, plus the change in behavior that the child should be able to demonstrate. I repeat, knowledge part, the skill, and also the change in behavior of that particular child with respect to that particular concept constitutes the competency of a child. So we are supposed to develop the competency of listening, speaking, reading, and writing it. So if a child is able to master listening, the child should be able to answer questions after listening, identify the new words there, pause and recall what was told. These are some of the things that have to be there to say that this child is proficient. Similarly, when it comes to reading, the child should not just be able to read, but be able to comprehend, be able to express oneself, be proficient in the language, not necessarily use the same words that the teacher has used, and should be able to identify the print and decode the words, and should also see ultimately where should the child reach by grade 3, because in grade 3 you are all aware that there is going to be a census exam. There is going to be an exam which is going to be a national level one to check the level of learning of children, whether they have attained the proficiency that they are expected to attain. So Nipun Bharat is talking to us, giving us beautiful description of what children should have picked up by grade 2. So they have to be able to identify the alphabet, know the phonics, then be able to identify the words, frame sentences, speak few sentences, ultimately reach the level of writing independently by grade 2. Do you think this would be possible? Quickly go back to your chat window and tell me. 5 years of foundation. Do you think we will be, as teachers, able to take children to the level of independent writing by grade 3? Please quickly tell me. I would like to listen to you and tell me whether it's going to be possible. Is it going to be possible? 5 years of foundational years, and will our children be able to write on their own independently by then? Okay, let me listen to more of you. Okay, Sarah says yes, they can. Wonderful. Okay, yes. I see very optimistic teachers here. Thank you, Dipaliji. I love my participants. They seem to be really very positive and confident. I'm really loving your responses. Thank you for that, friend. Yes, we are going to make it happen. See, now, if you look at the CEIR report that shows the existing standard of learning in our country, now more than 55, please listen to this carefully, more than 55% of children who are in grade 5 are not able to read the text of grade 2. Now, that is the level of reading in our country. What does that say? That says that something we are doing today is not good, is not okay. There has to be unlearning of what we have done and relearning of what needs to be done. So today, let's see what's not happening well and how we can move on. My dear friends, I would request you to immediately jot down some of those hooks that come to your mind. As and when I'm saying something, it'll prick you. Oh, this is what I'm doing, so I need to come out of it. So when anything as such comes to your mind, please just leave a tag there so that you can go back. Now, looking at the conditions in the classroom. Today, how are our classrooms? Again, I want you to use the chat option and tell me what is dominating in our classroom. Which of the 4 skills is dominating in our kindergarten or the foundation in your classroom? Which is dominating? Is it listening, speaking, reading, or writing? Even if it is a pre-KG classroom, I want you to tell me. I know my participants are very honest. They would not give me the wrong answer. Wonderful. I think you are great, simply great. You're just showing me the picture of what is happening in the class. So you all if you are agreeing and saying that writing is the predominant skill that is being practiced or reinforced in our classroom. Of course, first thing is writing, and of course there are some schools doing wonderfully well, doing a lot of other work, but predominantly, I'm not talking of your school. I know you are all excellent teachers, maybe doing wonderfully well, but this is what is happening in our schools. So in our classrooms, we see one-sided monotonous classrooms where teacher is doing most of the talking and children are mostly doing more of writing. Not just in the school, but also at home. We feel that, as parents, they always feel that learning happens only when children write. This is a big misconception, which is becoming very, very detrimental for the language development of children. I won't have enough time to go into depth, but still I would like you to look at this picture, how children learn language. Just look at the lower part of this particular picture. The first thing is children start learning the language by, making speech sounds, the cooing sound, at 20 days or 30 days, a child starts cooing, making these weird noises. And then slowly the child starts babbling like Baba, Mama, anything like that. And slowly, the phoneme, the sound of the alphabet, that's what we have to teach children first, what these sounds mean. Because for the child, the alphabet is just a graphical representation. And if I show you some Chinese alphabet, it makes no sense to you. Only you'll have to mark up and then say this is this. So it's very important that we go in this order. Once children learn the sounds of alphabet, then they go to words, 2 letters, 2 sounds together, they blend and then make words, and then phrases, then sentences. And after they are able to read sentences or say sentences, then they go to paragraphs and then stories and all that. So please remember that we cannot achieve language development in children without going through these stages. There is no shortcut to language learning. And if we are taking the shortcut, let's remember that we are not going to reach our destiny. It's a very costly experiment to take shortcuts and experiment with children. So when we look at language development, first thing is oral development. Without enabling the child to speak, I'll bet on it, you cannot teach children to read and write. You may say, ma'am, this child doesn't speak at all, but then he is able to read and he is able to write. But we are talking of proficiency. We're not just talking of the child uttering a few things, child identifying a few words. If the child has to achieve proficiency, then we will have to make sure that all children are able to first converse well, speak well, and only a child who has learned speaking well can move on to the other skills, that is reading and then followed by writing. I see 1 or 2 participants having put their hands up. Kindly excuse me, Neha ji, I won't be able to take questions now due to paucity of time. We will come back to the questions by the end of the session. If there's something really pressing, you can leave the question in the chat box. I'll try to do justice. Okay. Yeah, please, you could please lower your hand. Yeah, thank you so much. Now, many of us are in a hurry to teach children the language that, and I completely empathize with you, teachers. You are under a lot of stress. Today, I mean, we are conducting surveys to find out what parents are looking for in schools. And we get to see that most of them are stressing on their children picking up English. Speaking English has become one of the major yardsticks, for parents to assess it. So I can see how much pressure you are under, and you are constantly working to make children pick up the language quickly, and you have a heterogeneous group. I completely understand and empathize with you, but let's remember that without first getting children to identify the alphabet, it's not going to be possible for the little kids to learn such a complex language. A language which is not our mother tongue, a language which is a foreign tongue. So all of us have struggled to learn it. At some point in time, some of us have been lucky that we were immersed in a good environment where we got exposed to a lot of listening. But there's so many children. So the first thing we will have to focus on is children have to learn reading is to ensure that alphabet recognition happens. And you might say, ma'am, these children are able to do it at the age of 2, 2.5, A to Z, they are able to say, they are able to read. But let me tell you, that may not be the right identification or recognition, because it is there in an order. And many children get stuck if you show them something in between. So ideally, we suggest that the alphabet be taught not in that sequence, but randomly based on the languages, the alphabet that children are more likely to watch, something that is very connected to the shapes at home or in the surroundings. So if you do not check children for the identification randomly, you might even not know whether children are able to read fluently. Now, let us see how reading skills are picked up. There are that is 4 phases of, phases which tell us how children read. Because I see many teachers are unaware of the science behind reading. So I thought it's very important for me to share this with you. The first phase is the pre-alphabetic. However good you are as a teacher, if you're asking children to read, they won't be able to read the alphabet or the words, looking at that and memorizing and all that. So it's very interesting. If you see this picture, the word stop is there, and the child, if you see to the left, there is a snake that the child is eating. So if you see, in the first phase, children mostly connect the sound of the word to either the first or the last alphabet of that particular word. So if you see S, it reminds the child of a snake, and the child is trying to connect it to a snake because snake is known to the child. Child goes from known to unknown. See, this is how children always try to hook new knowledge. They hook it to something they already know. So in the pre-alphabetic phase, that is why as teachers, we are supposed to draw diagrams. CUP, cup, and we draw a cup. Then we say BALL and we draw a ball. Because even if children are not able to identify the alphabet, they will be able to identify through the images there or the pictures there. And in the second phase, the partial alphabetic. Here, the child is able to identify 1 or 2 alphabet, and then the child is struggling still here. So what the child here does is try to create connections between some of the letters or the sounds. So this is the second phase, partially alphabetic. After a lot of practice, child would come to this particular stage. In the third phase, this is fully alphabetic phase. Here, if you see, the child is clearly able to identify the alphabet and then the sounds and put together these things. So this is the stage, which children mostly achieve after 1 year of practice. Continuous practice, the child comes to this. And more the exposure, better is the familiarity. And the last phase is the consolidated alphabetic phase. Here, the reader, the child is able to completely remember it, and even the sight words. Sometimes the phonics don't work. There are so many words where you can't teach them through phonics. So it's easier for children to remember because they would have reached the fourth stage, the consolidated alphabetic stage, where they are able to play around with the words. They can pull out a C and stop, they remove OP, then they can put a new alphabet there, and they also know to manipulate. So by this time, they are able to do wonderfully well. Now, if we look at how we can develop these skills in children, because it's again and again, I'm going to keep repeating that language is a skill, and a skill has to be learned through practice. There is no other way. So, and especially when we are teaching children language, it is through practice and lots of repetition. They cannot remember what you taught yesterday or the day before. If you say, I taught you only yesterday, how is that you don't remember? I'm sorry to tell you, it makes no sense to children. So they have to pick it up through a lot of practice. That is why we have these drills. Drill is something we keep doing for a longer period of time. So if you recall, when we went to school also, we had these language drills. A lot of words used to be on the board, and till the teacher could come to the class, we were asked to keep repeating words, say it aloud. This was how we learned a lot of new words. The same thing holds good even today. Some of the things we did previously are really very good. So having children to do phonic drills on a regular basis helps them so much. Children will be able to pronounce it, say it aloud, and then also look at it. And if it can be associated with the picture, it helps children to form connections, and they also get a lot of stimulation for language. So this is the slide which I think you should park in your parking lot. Are we as teachers and parents doing the same thing? My reflection question for you. See, the child is being shaped at home and also at school. This little toddler, or 3-year-old, 4-year-old, or a 5-year-old, is learning so many things. The child is learning the world. And then I see there is so much damage happening because of the lack of communication between parents and teachers. As teachers, we hardly speak to parents about how we are teaching the child, so that the parent can also complement it at home, not exactly do the reverse at home. I see so many children victimized because we as teachers would be following the system in school where we are teaching them through the phonics method, but children at home are being taught by their parents or by their tuition teachers the traditional way, where the mother is saying, A, mat, and here you're expecting the child to say, ma, and ta. Now, please reflect on this. Is the 5-year-old or 4-year-old able to switch over to suit the needs of the home and the school? So a big challenge that children are facing is because of lack of alignment between the parents and the teachers. So it's very important for you to seek information from parents as to how they are teaching the child at home, because today every parent has become a teacher. And whenever I get opportunities to talk to parents, I'm requesting them not to play the role of the teacher, but to play the role of a parent. Because today's children don't have parents at all. They have only teachers everywhere. At home teachers, at school teachers. Because everybody wants to load the child with information and make the child learn. That's not how children learn. They learn in a stress-free, joyful environment. And if teachers and parents can speak the same language, use the same strategy, language learning becomes a lot more easier. So I would recommend school heads, if there are any, to ensure that there are frequent parent-teacher interactions or parent-teacher learning sessions where parents are also educated about, especially about language development. If not anything else, language development, and the school should have a policy for this, which is made or kind of published, so that parents know how children are exposed to language learning. And in a country like Bharat, we've always demonstrated the power of storytelling. I personally remember listening to stories by my grandma every night. We never went to bed without stories. And let me tell you, that is what made our language very strong. not just language, but our imagination, our creativity, ability to solve problems, and a whole lot of life skills. And this is not being utilized in a class today because we do not have time. We are so busy in making children right that we do not have time for most of these activities, which are the easiest and the most effective ways of developing language in children. So quickly tell me, what are the benefits? You can go to the chat box and tell me, what are the benefits of benefits of storytelling? Quickly, you can use the chat box and tell me, what are the benefits? Okay, enhances listening. Wonderful, Pooja. Yes, it improves attention of children. Good. Listening to bang on, that's very correct. Yeah, engages students. Yeah, develops expression. Very good. And then it also improves concentration. Yes, when you're telling a story, children are glued to you. And yeah, they start creating something. And then, yes, there is curiosity, there is imagination. There is one thing I'm looking for which is not coming still. Interesting, yeah, openness to learning, improves imagination. Wonderful, wonderful. There is one thing I want you to tell me. What is happening between the story narrator and the listener, the teacher and the child, or the mother and the child? Bonding, wonderful. There is connection made, there is bonding happening. And let me tell you, no learning can happen if there is no bonding between two, if there is no connection made. If you recall the movie Avatar, I somehow love this anecdote from that movie Avatar. There are these characters, like the human character, and there are these horse-like characters. And when the human character wants to ride the horse, the human character has a tail, and the horse has a tail. Those two have to be connected, after which this human character can just go on navigating the horse without even telling the horse whether to take a left or right. Connection is made, and there is oneness, there is understanding, there is bonding, there is so much of trust in each other. That is what exactly happens when we tell stories to children. One of the most powerful tools of developing language is through storytelling. So I would definitely request you people to make it a point. I'll talk about it when I come to the routines also. And if you want children to read well, if you want children to pick up the language well, if you want them to speak more, we say a good classroom. As a principal, I have never believed in going and sitting in a teacher's classroom and observing the stuff, because I know it's going to be artificial. Every teacher would want to impress the principal or to prove herself right. So, it's definitely artificial. I always listened from outside the noise level of the classroom. If the teacher talk time was more than the student talk time, it was a mediocre class. It was not a great class. Only in a class where children speak more, there is better learning, especially language learning. So the more the opportunity for children to speak, better is the language development in children and better is the environment. So creating a print-rich environment. I always used to tell my teachers, not an inch of your classroom wall should be seen. So much of it should be covered with a lot of stimulation for children. So you can have word walls, you can have beautiful things, you can have flashcards. I had some creative teachers who used to use colored chalks and write on the walls also. A creative teacher can make the most of anything around. And we used to have speaking doors. On the door, we used to hang the slate or, have a chart. And then there used to be a new word every day. Children used to come, what is the door telling kids today? The door told me to laugh and I laughed. The door told me to giggle today, so I giggled. See, these are new words children are picking up, vocabulary is building, and they are so curious to see what's written the next day. So you have reading cards. And we used to have these lunch mats made of the textbooks that used to come as compliments from the book vendors. Get those laminated and you give children these table mats. When they're having lunch, they are reading, they are getting exposed to. And let me tell you, if a child has learned to identify even 2 or 3 alphabets, whatever, they will not stop reading it wherever. So when you see them going with parents also, if they see about, they're immediately identifying those things. So creating a print-rich environment, be it at home or in the school, becomes very important to develop this. And what I see lacking in most of the schools, sorry to say this, is there is no plan created for language development. There are lesson plans, there are various plans, but there is no plan to develop reading in children. Without a plan, let me tell you, it's like walking in the dark and you never know where you're heading. So it's very important. So I've just shared with you how you can create a plan for yourself. And if you see here, you have the month and the number of teaching periods you get, number of words you can introduce. Suppose you're teaching in a pre-KG class, or if you're teaching in a high grade, number of books that you're going to take, and what kind of activities, and how are you going to assess. And when it comes to assessment, I would also like to tell you that giving children paper pencil tests is the last thing you should do to assess children. As we go further, I'll also share with you how you can assess language skills. Please note this down. Only good teachers, who have reading plans or writing plans or language development plans are able to achieve success. Because if you yourself don't know where you want to take children, where would you take them? And please believe me, if you think completing that textbook which is given to you very religiously, by the end of the year, you would not have achieved even 50% of what you are expected to achieve. So having a good reading plan helps. Now, this is my favorite slide where I would like to invest a little extra time, because this is where we are committing blunders. I tell you, the biggest blunders are happening in the class because we do not have the right assessment yards. If you see this, I've just taken one which is called the reading aloud rubric. Similarly, we have the writing rubric, we have the listening rubric, we have the speaking rubric. Now, let me request you people to look at this very clearly. If you want children to achieve proficiency in reading, we must be clear as to what we are expecting from children. And okay, I have a quick activity for all of you now. I know you're all loving activities. So now you are a mother. Imagine you're a mother, okay? Even the men have to imagine themselves as a mother. And now your child comes so happily, mama, mama, and then the child will say, mama, I got an A grade today, okay? I got an A grade today. Quickly use the chat box and tell me, how do you feel? Quickly, I want everybody to respond. Everybody to respond. How do you feel? Your child has come with an A grade. Child is saying, mama, I've got an A grade. Oh yes, Pooja says, wow. Okay, how do you feel? Great, you feel happy, you feel so, superb, thrilled, wonderful. Oh, very nice, mothers, huh? You're so happy. Now, please pause, stop at this. I have my second part. Now, you take this child, you're so happy, you give the child some sweets and you go to the park. There you find a few more friends of your child and their mothers also. They all start talking to you, and then you come to know that all the other children in the class have got A+, and your child is the only one in the class who's got an A. So now tell me, how do you feel? Quickly tell me, how do you feel now? You were feeling very happy, excellent, all that is fine. Now you come to know everybody else has got an A+, okay, you become worried, you become low, okay. There are some people giving a responses to the previous question. Honestly worried. I really appreciate this. Though we say we are going to not feel bad, as a mother, I know there is always this feeling that my child didn't get what other children got. Now, please stop responding and park the third question for reflection. What is the difference in the same A grade? The first time you were happy. Why did the same A grade make you unhappy in the next year? What did you even come to know about this A grade? What did it tell you? As a mother, what did you come to know about your child's learning? See, it's ridiculous. It doesn't convey anything. And A is contextual. It makes you happy sometimes, it can make you unhappy sometimes. Which means the feedback we are receiving or giving as teachers is useless. It's not helping the child, it's not helping the parent. Now, how should our feedback be? Our feedback has to be descriptive. If we know what we are expecting in children, suppose I say, now please look at the left side, volume, clarity, fluency, expression, posture. If a child has to develop right reading skills, the child should be able to read with the right volume, then have clarity of speech, then fluency in reading, should have expression, and then the posture should be right. Now tell me, if I am a child who is reading and you are supposed to assist me. I hold the book like this and read. Rama went to the forest. Is my posture right? Is my posture right? No, I'm not even showing my face. And I'm glued to the book, the way I'm holding the book. So when it comes to reading, it's not just the fluency with which the child reads, it's the grace and the style with which the child holds a book. Expression. Rama went to the forest and saw a big tree. If the child is able to express not just through words, but also through gestures, through expression, only then it is called proficiency of expression, which is a part of reading. And how many of us as teachers really assist children for all these aspects? No, I don't see most of us doing this because we take things for granted. We are in a hurry. Aren't we in a hurry? Hurry to complete that book. Portion completion is the big thing that is always riding on our head. Now, if you look at this rubric, you can see that there are small differences, minute differences as the child moves from 1 to 4. Now, if you are a good teacher, you should know where your child lies and where you need to lead the child to. When the child starts, the child is mumbling, I went and then stops. Does it mean the child is going to stay there forever? No, the child has to be navigated. Now, if you tell the mother, your child needs help in fluency, your child needs help in clarity. And once these parents are educated, they are not going to waste their time and force the child to do something that the child doesn't like. There can be more focus. This is called authentic assessment. You are assessing the child's learning authentically, where you can confidently say this is why your child has got an A or a B or anything. Did you like the slide? Please tell me, did you like the slide? Do you think this is going to be useful? Yes, I can see some thumbs going up. Thank you so much for that. And I request all of you to take screenshots of this and make sure that as teachers, you have. Thank you so much, participants. Your thumbs really give me a lot of solace that our children are going to be in safe hands. That they're going to learn language, not just to become proficient in language, but also become wonderful learners. They're going to enjoy learning. They're going to love you for life. They're going to remember you their whole life because you would have made their language learning so interesting. Now, when you find, because of paucity of time, I will not be able to go deep, but I thought there are certain important aspects. Now, how do we plug those gaps that we find in children? The children who come without having gone to kindergarten, the kids who take admission in grade 1, the children who haven't learned anything, they come with a lot of learning lag. And thanks to the pandemic, there's so many kids who haven't really picked up the right skills, So how do you actually help these children? Let me tell you, teachers, I enjoy challenges. The best introduction I have to give about myself is I love challenges. Whenever there's a challenge, I feel thrilled. I feel excited. So this is one table that gives me life all the time. I'm telling you, you will also hang on to this and hold this so close to your heart, and this will help children like anything. This is called the 21 days challenge. Anything that you want to achieve yourself or you want children to do, please get on to this. The 21 days challenge, be it listening, speaking, reading, or writing. First thing is identify children and bucket them. Please don't label them, bucket them. What I mean by bucket them is you should be able to put children into a particular group. Don't tell this to anybody, but you should see where these children stand. In the previous slide where you saw the rubric, all those children who lack clarity or those who lack confidence, anything like that. Now, when you identify children in a class, I always say you don't have to do everything. Children do it themselves when you allow them to do it, creative and use themselves. So I used to have this plan and stick on very rigorously to this and see brilliant results. If you see there are children who are beginners who have never got to school, where you know where they are and where you need to take them to. So identify beginners and just plan the course. I'm starting on the 1st of August, excluding all the Sundays, everything. I need to get 21 days. And then what is the task that I'm going to do continuously for 21 days? Please Remember, children do not learn if you just repeat it for 2 or 3 days. It's not possible. Even us as individuals cannot break free from our habits in a span of 2 or 3 days or even 10 days or 50 days. A full 21 days are required for us to change from something. So if children have to pick up something and move from beginners to potential learners or whatever category you call them, please have a plan and religiously do it. What we can do is have children sit in smaller groups of 4 or 5. All beginners sit in one group, which is called a learning island. And then we have all potential learners sitting in another island, 4 of them sitting together. All that you have to do is just have 3 different materials to cater to these groups. Give it to them. You don't have to be omnipresent and going everywhere, doing all that. I tell you, as a teacher, the lesser you do, the better it is for children. Our ambition, our aim should be to create independent learners, not people who are crippled for life, who depend on teachers and lecturers their whole life. So enabling children to do it on their own. So when you create a plan and do something consistently for 21 days, and not just do it, but reflect at the end of 21 days, see where children stand, assess them keeping the rubric, then create a feed forward. What should I do with these children? Out of the 4, 2 have been able to achieve what I wanted them to achieve. The other 2, so where do I place them? I put them with a new group of beginners and make sure that they undergo another 21 days challenge, not with the same set, but with a new set of children. At any point, I'm not disclosing to children the labels that I have put on their groups. So this helps children navigate from one level to another, and the teachers are also not pressurized, because if you don't know which child is progressing and not progressing, you're not able to decide anything. And half our Indian schools are catering to the average. It is one size fits all. I have a large size, whether you are an Excel or a small size, inevitably you have to fit in the large size. Please don't do that. It's not just, every child matters. So there are plenty of activities we can do. Like substitution table is one of the most proven, time-tested activities which show instant results, because children love this. Children love challenges. If you see, when you say don't do that, they love to do it. So just disprove. And you see them when you're taking them out, they love to walk on that, the dressing stone of the pavement. You say you're going to fall, and they continue to walk because they want to prove you wrong. So whenever you give them something that's a little challenging, they start enjoying. More so when they work in groups. Language development happens extremely well when children work in groups. It's not just, because in an Indian scenario, we are not native speakers. A child may not be exposed to English at home at all. And even in the school, it's very limited to 1 or 2 teachers. And even many of our teachers are not fluent themselves. The vocabulary is very, very poor. See, not that they're bad. It's not wrong. But what I say is, when a teacher is impoverished with vocabulary, children cannot benefit much. So how can you actually compensate for that? Is through allowing children to work in groups. Suppose you give them this substitution table. What happens is, you ask them to create as many sentences and say it out. And then once children are able to make the maximum number of sentences, then you ask them to replace what with, where or how or anything, and ask them, does it make sense? Suppose I put my instead of that in the first table. I say, my is your favorite color. Doesn't make sense. You ask children, is it making sense? As teachers, it's not just important to give only examples. We are supposed to give them non-examples. Identifying what is wrong is a higher order skill compared to just constructing something. So when you make use of substitution tables, have these things on the board, on the wall, have extra made like, small charts where you can, and this was one of the incentives we used to give to the group that finished their work first. We used to say, the group that finishes first calls out a bingo. They say bingo, and the teacher appreciates and gives the substitution table card, and the 4 of them sit and start working on the maximum number of sentences they can create. Can you imagine how much joy they will have when they are trying to explore new sentences? One is committing a mistake, the second one is correcting. The second one says something, third one doesn't agree. See, there is a lot of incidental learning as well that happens. So if you can create a lot of reading material, my request is you don't have to do anything. Don't reinvent the wheel. Go to Pinterest or so many of those sites, teachers, pay teachers. And Pinterest is something where you have umpteen number of these resources, and go to the anchor cards. Use these anchor cards extensively. You do not know how much good you will do when you're getting each of these anchored cards hung onto the wall. And I would tell you, even all those appreciations you would like to give children, instead of a birthday card, give an anchor card to watch. These anchor cards help children so much in language development. And these don't cost you anything. It's very inexpensive. You can ask children to even make anchor cards, for various aspects. So it helps children develop their reading or whatever skills that you want them to do. Now, if you see this slide, Deepali ji, you will have to caution me when the time is up, because I'm so used to lecturing that I might just go on overboard. So please give me some caution when you reach that threshold.
Approximate. So, ma'am, you have at least 15 minutes, definitely.
Excluding the Q&A? Excluding the Q&A?
I was budgeting 15 minutes for Q&A. You can maybe take for 5 minutes beyond that. I mean, so that's 20 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. So when you look at the slide, please note these things down in your heart, in your mind, because language development does not happen through textbook. It's not the textbook. And if you're holding that as your Bible and saying, this is going to achieve everything, I'm sorry, that doesn't happen. And that is one of the biggest mistakes we are committing, which is not helping our children pick up the right skills at the right stage. So if you have to make your children learn, please give equal importance to listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So can you quickly go back to your parking lot and write down, audit your class, audit your class. Please write this down in bold letters, audit your class. Today, soon after the session, please look at your typical class and see how much time you are spending on listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. If writing is taking 70% and reading is taking 30% in your class, it's a very, very big alarm that has to ring that you are not doing justice to language development. It cannot happen that way. Every class should start with listening and end with listening, and also have a lot of speaking activities, because without mastering listening and speaking skills, there cannot be proficiency achieved in reading and writing. So please audit. So this is a homework for you, which you have to do religiously and also have a way forward. You have to give you auto-suggestion on how you will change your class. Okay, and then using both formal and informal methods, not always doing whatever is given in the textbook. You know your children better. You're much better than the author of a textbook. You can really decide what is good for your children and what is required for your children. And having structured activities is good, but many a times unstructured activities also help children a lot, especially taking them on a nature walk, where you haven't structured anything. You allow children to speak amongst themselves. You see the explosion of vocabulary. You see the explosion of expression. They start speaking about so many things which you aren't aware of. So, and language development, this activity is developmental. You see incremental, progress in this, and it has to be holistic. Please don't create airtight compartments. I see, for a child, math period. What does a 3-year-old, 4-year-old understand? Math or English or French or German? Everything is a big nut for the child. The child is finding it difficult to learn. So please do not label and say, okay, children, now we will all start English period. Please don't tell them all these things. Tell them something that's connected to their life. Today, let's all talk to the walls and the doors of our classroom. They're going to start giggling and say, oh, ma'am, how can we talk to them? They're going to say, we will talk to them. We are not going to talk with them. See, they won't talk to us, but we can talk to them. So are we doing this mistake again? We mostly talk to children. We don't talk with children. That is, we don't allow them to express. We only keep speaking. It's like throwing stones at children. We don't allow them to respond. Make it a holistic activity. Never announce to them English period, math period. No. You're going to tell them the activity which is a part of their life and integrate it as much as possible. You bring math in English. When you're telling them a story, you can have a story where you say, there were 10 cows which went grazing and 2 of them went missing, and how many reached home? If you're asking them this, see, they would be so curious about the story and they will also do math. So wherever possible, and let me tell you, language is required not just for English or whichever is your regional tongue. Language is required for learning every other subject. Math cannot be learned without language. Science cannot be learned without language. Language is very important to learn any subject. So it's important that we integrate it and not kind of separate them. And use repetition as much as possible. If you see, I've been repeating these things so frequently, though I'm not doing pedagogy, I'm doing andragogy. Still I'm repeating because human mind cannot remember everything. More the repetition, better is retention. And use patterns. You should have that pattern. Every Monday they're going to start with storytelling. Every Tuesday they have them. So children remind you, they kind of start getting attuned to that. And please use a lot of questions. You question or allow children to question. In my class, I used to have a religious practice of question time, where every child had to come with a question, however silly the question is. It could be as simple as, what did you have for breakfast? But you are enabling the child to think and question. And please note this last, the 10th point, which says language learning happens only if the environment is safe and supportive, if it is conducive. Do you think you would have responded so brilliantly to me if I had not given you that feeling that I am approachable person? I'm going to have some activities with you. Don't worry, you know it all. I love teachers and all these things. Did you not feel that warmth when I told you I love to call myself a teacher? I'm proud of being a teacher. See, whenever we develop that bond with children, tell them it's safe, we are co-learners. We're just learning together. Don't alienate them and say, you have to learn. See, a good teacher uses an inclusive language. A good teacher will never say, you people should have done it, you should do it. A good teacher will always say, let us do this, children. We will do it, children. Our class will do this. See, you are showing them that you are a part of their group. So don't alienate children and never use these words like you. And you are showing them that they are not important. They are separate. So these are certain things we should bear in mind. And these are some of the routines that we must have in our classrooms. Circle time is one of the brilliant activities where all children sit in a circle, and every morning, don't start bombarding these topics onto children. Allow them to speak first thing in the morning when they come. It can be a simple thing like, my favorite fruit is, suppose I say apple, the next one says, my favorite fruit is an orange. So, the rule here is that all of them have to speak and everybody should listen. So it's a listening activity, it's a speaking activity, and more importantly, they have to speak in full sentences. That's how they learn to make sentences. And they also understand what somebody likes. They start appreciating, some child, he also has apple as a favorite fruit, so he's my friend. See, there is a lot of incidents we learn that. And story time. Story time can be you narrate a story, you invite a grandma to narrate a story, you ask a senior child, a ninth grade child to come to this class and then narrate a story during lunchtime. These are going to be brilliant activities. And let me tell you, children love to listen to stories from their elders, like, the older students in the school, like 5th graders, 6th graders. You're giving them an opportunity to bond with these little ones. And religiously have a question time at least once a day, but encourage you to question and start looking at the quality of questions. You will see the improvement in the usage of words and also the thought. And these are some fun activities like whisper in pairs, where you teach children to whisper. You are bringing in a new vocabulary and they are whispering in somebody's ear, and see, they have to listen very carefully. And when you are giving such activities, children also learn how to communicate well when it's a whisper, how long the sentence is. And they start picking up the nuances, the most important aspect of language. And the language drill, making them repeat, especially when you're introducing the family words, the sight words. These are times when you have to do a lot of language drills. Please don't underestimate language and say 2 days I've done this, 3 days I've done. That's not sufficient. To keep doing it randomly and then randomly keep checking whether children have picked it up. And then the poem time. This was my favorite. Having a small poem can be self-composed, or you have umpteen number of poems where we enact with children because they learn a lot through enactment. When you say a snail is a snake is crawling, a frog is jumping, or anything like that, you make children jump. These words otherwise don't mean anything to children. I remember a child recently when I was traveling by flight. The child was telling the mother, "Mama, why don't you wear a light colored lipstick?" The mother said, "But I'm wearing a very light lipstick." She was wearing actually very light lipstick. The child went on and on, a 4-year-old probably. No, you are not wearing a light color lipstick. I want you to wear a light color lipstick. And the mother wasn't able to figure out. Then I said, "Can you show me that light color, which color you're?" The child showed a bright pink somewhere on the luggage and said, "This is the light color." So what the child meant by light was a bright color. But then the communication, the child is developing language because when it is not associated with examples, illustrations, these words are misunderstood by children. So you see many a times children say, "Mama, stomachache, stomachache." For hunger also it is stomachache. For boredom also it is stomachache. Because stomachache is the only expression the child would have picked up. So, this vocabulary is not so rich that the child can express everything. So poem time helps children pick up a lot of new words associated with action. So action songs and poem time and call and response. You can create your own call and response like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You say, the teacher says 1, 2, 3, and children say, "All eyes on me." Something like that. So when children are naughty, they're all meddling with things. You just call out like. So it's a call and response. You all are going to say, you say something, and immediately they have to say. So all of them have to be hands-free. So these are some routines which help children develop a lot of confidence in the language aspect when they start speaking, and most importantly, they don't feel threatened. They start enjoying the experience. So I think I have taken the time that was allotted to me, Deepaliji. So can we quickly go over to the questions and answers?
I think, Savita ma'am, you've done a wonderful, wonderful job. Being on time. Wonderful. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for sticking to your time. And I'm sure every participant has really, really enjoyed this session. Now it's time for question and answers. So participants, I hope you have made note of whatever questions you had. I think there was a question at the very early stage where ma'am had to ask that, please hold on to your question. We'll talk later. So please go ahead with any questions. Neha ji had a question there. Should we start with some from your end?
They can either use the chat option or raise their hand.
Raise their hand so that you can be unmuted. If you raise your hand, you will be unmuted. And it would be nice to see you speak up.
Thank you, teachers. I'm really liking your appreciation and love. Thank you so much. I'll be happier if you can throw some good questions.
Neha Chopra has raised her hand. So maybe...
Yes, Neha ji.
Neha.
Very good evening, ma'am. My question is that what an appropriate way how to recite a table to the students?
Recite a table?
Yeah, table. Actually, table is, I think, students only mug up, not understanding. And I think we don't know how to recite them in an appropriate way.
Okay. Neha, do you mean a multiplication table? 2 1s are 2?
Yeah, that one like that.
Okay.
Yes, that.
1, fine. Okay, wonderful. I recall an anecdote. A small girl asked her father, Papa, where is the Z key here in the laptop? Father said, there's nothing called a Z key. No, there must be a Z key and you must show me that. He said, I don't think there's any Z key. She said, haven't you gone to school? It's so simple. Oh no, 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6. So that is the, she said. Which means what you are saying is very right. They don't even understand what they are saying when they are, reading out or saying a table. There is nothing like the 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6. That means when we actually explain it to them, ask them to write, you write 2 and then you write another 2. So 2 2s are there and these 2 2s make 4. There are 3 2s and they make 6. So thank you so much for that, Neha. I think many of us are committing that mistake, and if we can ask children to look at that, they will be able to say that. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question, Neha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a question from Kalyani Balakrishna. There are in fact 2 questions she has put up. She said that NEP focuses on the use of mother tongue or the local language in the lower classes. How do we make the transition to English? That's her first question. The second question she mentions is, are all the methods mentioned by you appropriate for the local language too?
Yeah, I would like to take your second question first, Kalyani. Any language is learned this way. So this is equally appropriate and you can use these strategies for any regional language you're teaching. And transition from mother tongue to English. See, a child can learn anything well only when the child can understand. I see many children, today you see students aren't performing really well in their higher grades. And when you find out the reason, it's simply because they don't learn with understanding. And to understand something, if I had conducted this session in Spanish or Latin, how many of you would have understood? Prestige issues, I attended a workshop in Spanish. When we don't understand something, it's not possible to comprehend or take further. So it's very important that we teach the child in the known language, mother tongue or the regional language, because it's very easy for the child to make connections. When I'm saying Pani, the child is able to understand. When I'm saying water, there may be many children, like the example I gave you of the bright lipstick, the child says something but means something different. And how to transition this is, see, when the child has learned the mother tongue well, the child will be able to pick up number of languages easily. And let me tell you, research findings is that children are basically polyglots. They are capable of learning 14 languages before the age of 8. So much is the ability, such as the brain development. So transitioning from mother tongue to English is very easy. And also NEP talks of using bilingual methods, not just sticking on to mother tongue. You can also bring in English words and even allowing children to express. Please do this. Allow children to express certain words if they don't know. They're speaking in English. I want to go to my mother's, I want to go home. Suppose the child says, I want to go ghar. Is the child still communicating? Yes, maybe the child doesn't know the word home, but then the child is making an effort. So enabling the child to kind of use certain words from regional tongue also will help the child in transitioning. And learning of language, one language is very easy, another language is very easy when the child is good at mother tongue. So it is very important that we encourage mother tongue learning at the first instance. Yeah.
So thank you, ma'am, for this. I'm sure that's clear. There are a lot of questions coming up, but before I start taking the questions from the chat box, I think there was one Mr. Rohit Kapoor who had raised his hand. Could you ask your question, Rohit? Let us have you unmuted. Rohit? Are you there? Are you there, Rohit, or should we go ahead?
Till Rohit is able to speak.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think I'll just read some more questions.
Yeah, please.
So
Yeah.
there is one question which says the use of phonics, how much does it help in accelerating the language learning in children? That's one question from Kanchan Kapoor. How does
yeah, especially when it comes to English, because for children, and as we all know, English is a very, very tricky language. There are just 26 alphabets, and then we have 44 sounds, or more. Because it's quite weird and very difficult to explain to children why C is ker sometimes and Z sometimes. This varies. So it's very important for us to teach them the sounds. And why children struggle with dictation, writing the spelling, is because they are not aware of the phonics. When they know the phonemes, they know the sound of each of the alphabet, they are able to frame these words very, very easily. It goes a long way. And they don't have to do this throughout their life. It's only till they master it. Till they learn, it's going to be difficult. Once they learn, they don't have to. It becomes, they do it unconsciously. So I think the same thing I know holds good of the other question. How can we help children to overcome difficulties they face during transition from phonics to non-phonics or tricky words? There's nothing like tricky words. These are the sight words or the high frequency words. One of the very good strategies to teach children to read is identify the sight words. See, there are lists of sight words. Different authors have given different sight words. Identify the first 100 sight words which children require in UKG or first standard. The sight words are those words which are frequently seen, and these cannot be taught phonically. Like the, th, you can't say term, her, e. No, it's not possible. These have to be learned through a lot of repetition. When children keep seeing it, like I say, I've given you a small passage, identify how many you find there. Oh, I see one here, I see one here, one here. So repeatedly they keep seeing it. Sight words help them to read faster. So I think teachers should be cautious. They should also be aware of the right sight words they should be using in different stages. Please have a repository. Take those things, put them up on the wall. Start seeing how many sight words children have learned. And it is one easiest way of making children develop reading very, very quickly.
I think that's a wonderful response to the question. And there's one more question from Hina. Before I ask one, there are two questions in fact, but I'd like to take Hina's question first. She is talking about the challenges that teachers face in the virtual mode right now. So how do you make listening more effective in the online mode?
Okay, thank you for that, Hina. I think this is something everybody is struggling with. First thing is, if the teacher is mostly doing talking, children wouldn't listen. A good teacher has to have some pep activity where children start, engaging themselves. When there is student engagement in the class, children listen to the teacher. If there is too much of talking, children don't listen. See, if you can recall why I asked you to do a lot of chat response, I asked you to go back and respond. I ensured that you were engaged in learning. So when you are engaging children in the class, they listen to you. They love to be engaged. So, they'll be so cautiously listening. Oh, what is the next task the teacher is going to give? So when you make sure that your class is not monotonous and have a lot of strategies, there are plenty of strategies to make online classes very effective today. There are umpteen number of tricks to do that. So if your class is novel, if there are surprises in your class, suddenly what I do is, okay, children, I have a question for all of you. Okay, yes. Now, are you all with me? What happened? Suddenly there was a stimulation. Suddenly there was a change. So everybody is like curious. Oh, what happened? Ma'am has brought something in. So, there are hundreds of ways of drawing the attention of children. And also these small things are enough to thrill children. And that's when you can develop a lot of listening, or even this activity. All of you close your eyes, and now I'm going to tell you something and pose questions. Let me see whether you listen carefully. Okay? So, and then you ask children to close their eyes and you say something. 100% listening happens because they're not distracted. One sense is shut, the other sense is open. So you can try lots of such strategies, Anand.
Ma'am, Pooja Joshi asks what strategies a teacher should use for a 3-year-old child to speak complete sentence as they speak fluently the mother tongue but not the English language.
Okay. Pooja, first thing is let's remember that they will not be able to speak full sentences at the age of 3 years. You know, that's too much to expect from children because mother tongue they would have practiced. See, and please remember, the child is exposed to the mother tongue not from birth, but even before birth. The 9 months of stay in the womb is also when the child is exposed to mother tongue. Child is learning, listening even in the womb, even in the fetal state. So you see the kind of exposure the child has got to mother tongue for almost 2 years or 3 years, at least 2 full years. That is 9 months of fetal stage and then the 9 months of the first year. So much of solid listening has happened that the child is able to speak fluently. And the child is every day imitating the parents at home. The more exposure, and see, I'll tell you, I see so many mothers who come very worried to the school and say, ma'am, my child is not, started speaking. The vocabulary is very poor. Child is not, as active as the other child. Let me tell you, one quick test for you is look at how much, stimulation you're giving as a teacher, as a mother to your child. If the connection made, with human beings is very less, I see children staying in families, nuclear families with very less communication opportunities. The children cannot pick up languages. Please don't expect a 3-year-old to speak in full sentences. That would be really very bad for the child. The child has to pick up, and if you should be happy if the child is able to respond in phrases first. Start encouraging the child. Slowly it happens. No, because a 3-year-old speaking in complete sentence is possible only when English is their home language.
Thank you, ma'am. There's one more question. Nirmala ma'am, would you like to ask the question yourself? Would somebody unmute Nirmala ma'am?
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks, Savita-ji, for the lovely session. As a teacher, I often face the dilemma having to correct so many books, in the early classes, say grade 1 and 2. And as a principal also, I found my teachers struggling because you need to have a book for spelling, phonics. And then ultimately it used to boil down, to make them spend more time in writing down. So do you think having so many books is actually useful for improving the language skills of a child? Or
okay,
and how many books should we have?
Okay, lesser the books, better is the language learning. Because see, as a parent, I would question you for every book you have prescribed. I'll say you have not taught those 3 pages of the English reader or 4 pages in the copywriting book. And when we are giving so many books, we are pressurized to do so much extra work, and what work has to be done cannot be done. So in language, I would say if you are having something like picture dictionary and making the correction of notebook can be very, very easy if you follow this strategy. This is for everybody. Like if you are teaching in grade 1 and you want children, or UKG, where you want children to write in a full sentence with capital letter and a full stop and with proper finger space in between. I had this favorite activity of mine, which many teachers have used, and they are successfully able to develop this, where your correction load comes down. Like you see, a sentence is like a train, okay? A sentence is like a train. The first letter is the captain. Because the captain is very big and he takes the train, it has to be a capital letter. And then the last bogie, you will have the guard who holds the flags and stands, right? And without the guard, the train cannot go. And who is this guard? This guard is usually the full stop or the question mark, okay? And the bogies, between the bogies, you always find equal space. So you have to give equal space between words. So in a sentence, you see major mistakes children commit is not use capital letter in the beginning, not have a full stop or a question mark, not give enough space between, or have these words written one big, one small. So visualize a train. You see the train is uniform. All bogies are uniform in size. Space in between. Is the captain there? So even before taking the books for correction, we used to call out the children. Okay, let's check whether our train is complete. Is the guard there? Everybody check whether the guard is there. Oh ma'am, I've written a scholar kit. I'll write it immediately. And is the guard there? Everybody, oh, I forgot the full stop. I'll put a full stop. Is the finger stay there? See, these are small strategies. And before taking book for correction, please make sure that you read out what you expect children to have. So what happens when you ask children to do self-correction? They are smart enough, only we underestimate them. You ask children to cross-check. Cross-check children, check the spellings once again, check your books, correct your books, and then hand it over. You should pass on the onus of correction from teachers to children. And only when they start, and we used to ask children to correct it in groups. 4 children said they exchange books and they correct it in the first round. And correction is also an excellent way of identifying things, and higher order thinking skills are utilized there. So I am sure you can try this, and please reduce the number of books, ma'am. Your children will enjoy, your teachers will enjoy, you will have actually a lot of time to do brilliant activities, and you will start seeing learning happening brilliantly. Thank you, Kanchan. Thanks for that. The train example, please try it. I'm sure all of you will really love it. And children will really enjoy, and throughout life, they will not commit the mistakes while writing.
So I think there have been a lot of beautiful questions in response to this session that you have taken, ma'am, Savita ma'am.
Yeah.
Some of the, I would just like to, there is time for a vote of thanks, but before a vote of thanks, there are some of the key takeaways which I would like to just repeat. As you said, repetition is something which sticks with us, and children should all continuously learn through repetition. A lot of things will be learned through repetition. So that's one of the key takeaways. For teachers, I found that the 21-day challenge is something which is actually very good that they can, and the annual reading plan. Then the first, I think that's what they can start with is an audit your class, which is where the learning gaps can be understood within yourself as a teacher. What have been your teaching gaps maybe? And then they can take it through the 21-day challenge, the annual reading plan. Then, I think the bridging of learning gaps, for the bridging of learning gaps, you also talked about the rubrics, which is how much emphasis should be given on rubrics, so that is a kind of communication between the teacher and the parent as well, and that also helps the parent to understand how well my child is progressing. Communicating with the parent, aligning the learning which is happening in the class with what the parent is teaching at home. And also, I think that helps the parent to understand what is more important for the child to learn and not expect the child to start writing immediately, as you have mentioned in the very beginning. I think some of the key takeaways which struck me today in your session were these. And of course, the teachers would have picked up many, many more, like the stages of language development, the stages of reading development, the worksheets that you shared. Wonderful stuff. And I'm sure there'll be many of them who would want to know this, want to know more about this learning and teaching from you. I will definitely share the presentation with them as required by them. Thank you once again for this wonderful session. I think, ma'am, this is not going to be enough. We would have to invite you for more workshops. And if there are any principals here, you are most welcome to invite Savita ma'am to your own schools for sessions for the primary teachers separately as well. I'm sure that will start happening. Thank you once again for your session, a wonderful session and a very engaging session, if I may say so, ma'am, because you set the context beautifully and you kept all your participants glued to your session. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vande Guru. Thank you, participants, all of you. Without you, the session would have been incomplete. Thank you very much for being there throughout and also for the wonderful questions that you asked. Thank you. Vande Guru to everyone.
So kindly permit me to leave the session, Deepali ji, and I wish all my teachers here a wonderful journey of teaching learning.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
you.